All right, there we go. Wow. 49ers lose in Minnesota. 8 straight trips to the Metrodome or wherever the Vikings happen to play. They no longer play in the Metrodome. It doesn't matter where they play because Minnesota beats the 49ers in Minnesota. And it happened again today. The Niners lose to Sam Darnold. Too many negative plays. Welcome to the Kruger Show. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And we're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California. Anthony Catania, he's there at 831-521-5264. And, of course, the live stream today, the post-game live stream sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. So we'll talk more about Better in a bit, but use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. And we've done exactly that. Not today, but we have done that. All right, welcome to the post-game extravaganza. Kev on the top box, Rye Smith on the bottom corner behind him. And then, of course, Danny in his Niners studio with Niner hat and Niners flags and regalia. All right, let's just get right into it. To me, the Niners never led in this game. There's all kinds of blame to go around. Brock Purdy's numbers might look okay, but he didn't play particularly well. He held the ball too long. The Niners offense was 2 for 10 on third down conversions. He was sacked 6 times. He had a fumble. He had a pick, a couple turnovers. I didn't think it was a great game for Shanahan. I didn't think he ran Mason enough. The Niners ran it effectively. J.P. Mason ran 20 times for 100 yards and a touchdown. And then there were just too many mistakes and big negative plays. But I also got to point to, like, the number one thing I would point to is this 49er defense. Ty Chandler ran for 8.2 yards a carry. Minnesota ran for 146 yards at over 6.1 yards per carry. And in the fourth quarter, when the game was on the line and the Niners had scored the J.P. Mason touchdown to make it 20-14, the Niner defense allowed a Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison-less Viking team to go right down the field on a 14-play, 6-minute drive that resulted in the Reichert field goal, which put the game on ice, essentially. And they had 3 key third downs there. It was a 3rd and 7 where Darnold went to Brandon Powell. He was wide fucking open. Yadam and Ward obviously had poor communication on that. To me, that was the game right there. But then the drive continued. Darnold went to Naylor for 27 yards on 3rd and 8. And then Darnold went to Powell again for 5 yards on 3rd and 2. And that kept that drive alive. And eventually they get burned by the chippy field goal. But just too many negative plays, especially in the first half. Oh, my God. How many negative plays can you have in a single half of football? I thought that was like that. You had a punt blocked. You failed on a 4th and 2. Justin Jefferson absolutely burned Jair Brown for a 97-yard touchdown. You get stuffed on 4th and 2 and a penalty on Aiyuk that negated a 4th and 2 that could have been a first down. Just a lot of mistakes, huge mistakes in the first half. Then in the second half, Bosa got hurt. The muff punt from Jacob Cowing. If it wasn't for Fred Warner and Isaac Yadam's 2 fumble recoveries, the Niners could have had their doors blown off. Nonetheless, it's another loss. Give me your guys' your breakdown on this thing. What's your first takeaway? Go ahead. Anybody who wants to jump in? Danny's muted. Danny decided to talk first, but is muted.
Yeah. All right. Biggest thing that to me there was quite a few things, but one, I thought the Niners didn't mix up the pass and the run enough. They just threw to open up the game, and they were able to run the ball. I thought, last week you ran it down the Jets' throat. You were doing it. Mason had 100 yards. He averaged, over 5 yards a carry again, and yet they didn't mix it up, and the offensive line was getting manhandled by the Vikings, and they were just coming hard with blitzes. And then the other thing that really, really ticked me off, and I don't understand why Kyle does, saw it last year in games they were behind. When you're down by 2 scores, you cannot afford in the fourth quarter to be huddling and taking your time and running off 3-4 minutes of precious time. That 99-yard drive, once they got it out of the, away from the end zone on the first couple plays, start going to hurry up, because you took 5 minutes when you could have scored in 3. And that 2 minutes cost you a possession. And he does it all the time. It's my one gripe. I'm a big Shanahan fan. I'm not one of his biggest critics, but I am a huge critic when it comes to clock management when you're down. Hurry up. You need 2 scores. What are you waiting for?
Well, I'll say this. They don't practice a hurry up.
I understand that.
I would like to see them. Yeah, I'd like to see them, be a little bit more proficient at the hurry up. I agree.
I would love to ask Kyle, why don't you go to the hurry up offense? Why don't you practice it? I mean, why are you so stubborn? You lose games constantly when you're down because you don't have a chance to get another possession. It's like they didn't have to go to an onside kick. If he would have hurried up and scored quicker, there would have still been 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, no, this was a tough game. The box score is going to tell you a different story than what actually happened in this game. It seemed like a close game. The stats look good for Purdy. The stats look good for Mason. The stats probably look good for the defense. But the Niners were 2 of 10 on third down, and the Vikings were 7 of 12. So the Vikings were just able to continuously
there.
They were able to sustain drives throughout this entire game, death by a million paper cuts on some of these drives. You can't really complain as a Niners fan. Some things broke for you in your direction. Something broke for them in their direction. There was 2 turnovers both directions. The other thing I'd point to is that Brock Purdy was sacked 6 times. And it seemed like every time he got sacked, it was just a drive killer for the 49ers. So there's that. I thought Mason looked good. I thought, the thing about the Vikings is they don't even have all their weapons, and Darnold's kind of carving you up in your secondary. So that's definitely something to be concerned about. And this, the offensive line not being able to block well enough for Brock Purdy in some of these key third down spots. I know Purdy had some trouble getting to receivers and was probably standing in the pocket a little longer than he should have. But sometimes the Vikings just had free rushers on him. So that obviously has to be cleaned up. It's a tough loss in week 2 to a Sam Darnold team who was your backup quarterback last year. It's a tough loss.
Rye, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing every year with this Niners team. I don't even know whether to be frustrated by it or not, but it's just they got down 10. And it was a little bit of weird circumstances. I mean, it was the block punt, and then they let up a field goal, which is good. But then they go on the 15-play, 88-yard drive, get stuffed, and then they give up the long touchdown. And now they're down 10-0. Definitely some kind of weird circumstances, but they're down 10-0. All of a sudden, they can't pass protect when they're down 10-0. It goes away, and you saw Purdy just getting ate up, and he didn't look comfortable the entire game. Yeah, it's why the Niners like to get out to these leads. I mean, it's a similar thing with the Cowboys. You saw the Cowboys today; they got jumped on by the Saints, and they just couldn't come back. It's weird, but a lot of these NFC teams, that's the way they're built now, and yeah, I don't know. I will say this though. You see Justin Jefferson, it's like he's the only guy you really have to worry about as far as receiver goes. That's a guy who you don't even think about it. You pay that guy $30 million a year because you can't overpay Justin Jefferson. You can't. He's that elite of a player. You can absolutely overpay Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah. I know Aiyuk has been we're going to cut him some slack because he's rounding into shape, but he really should not be getting paid $30 million. You had to do it because you need some kind of an outside threat when we're when they're trying to compete for a Super Bowl this year and the next year. But like, that was not a good contract. I still think they should have traded him.
Yeah, I mean, Aiyuk doesn't, he makes the one catch and then he raises his hand. He needs to catch his breath. I mean, it's like you can take time off in the summer, but man, you cheat the whole thing and don't do anything. He's not nearly as good of a player at this point this year as he was at the same point last year. And that's undeniable. It's not like, well, I kind of disagree. No, he's not the same guy as he was. He didn't have that kind of camp. He had an amazing camp last year. He burst into the season with all kinds of confidence and dominated week 1 in Pittsburgh and just kept going from there. He just doesn't look as nearly as dynamic.
He's been a complete non-factor. He's been completely
not a factor. Yeah,
a non-factor. He's just
he last year, as you mentioned, Larry, he was playing for something. He was playing for the big contract. Now he's got it, and he's not as motivated. I can almost guarantee he's not as motivated. He could say he is, but human nature is, man, you got the bag. You're going to relax a little bit.
Now, if I said to you, okay, rank the Niner receivers, you'd probably go Debo 1. He had 8 catches for 110 today. You'd probably go JJ number 2, who they threw him 4 balls. He caught 2 for 37 yards. One of them an amazing catch.
You can count Kittle.
Kittle, yeah,
definitely Kittle. When Pearsall gets in there, he's going to be very reliable just because of the ball skills.
It's just like Aiyuk is the fourth option. He's like the fourth option right now. That's the problem. And we were talking about this during the game. The Niners needed to get a score and they needed to drive down the field. And instead they have to settle for this, 4.5 minute drive, 12 play drive because they don't have any speed. They don't have a deep threat where they can get a 30-yard completion because he's going to, make the defense play you deeper and just create more space. It's like they don't like Jacob Cowing would have been great if he's, I'm not sure where he is. He's probably not going to get any snaps this early in the season, but a guy with that level of speed is who they needed on those late drives.
I'll give you another one that's bothersome, and I know this is going to annoy some people, but it seems like Shanahan is not nearly as comfortable or in rhythm when he's calling plays from behind. The Niners, played this entire game from behind, and he doesn't seem like he's quite as comfortable calling plays. They came out passing. Okay, whatever. You pass on first down. You're ultimately going to wind up passing a couple times, and then they went 3 and out. But I mean, what's frustrating about this game is Jordan Mason ran 5 yards a carry, and
he's literally never not done that.
What's that?
He's literally never not done that.
He's never not done that, but it's like, it's
crazy.
I don't know. It just seems like they went away from the run. 36 pass attempts, 25 runs. The game was always close. I don't know. To me, they get a little pass happy when their run blocking and their running just seems to be the strength of the team. I also thought we would see a little bit more of Guerendo and Taylor. I don't know if Guerendo really has the instincts as a runner to pick holes. We'll find out. I kind of
didn't look like it on his one carry.
It didn't look like it on his one carry. He just got dumped. But I mean, the Niners added some speed in the offseason in Cowing. We're not seeing it from scrimmage. And they've got a really good young running back, but it doesn't seem like they feed him enough. And they just made a lot of mistakes today. And defensively, it doesn't feel like they're like any third down is safe. You don't, if it's some teams, hey, you get anything third and long and you feel really good. The 49ers do not feel like they're getting off the field even when it's third and long.
Today it was that way for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean Darnold has a lot of zip on his passes.
He's the greatest thrower of the football since Joe Montana or Steve Young.
Oh, wow.
No, I mean it's a tough. I mean, are we concerned with the 49ers defense? I mean, I know some people would hear that statement and be like, "Oh my God, you're gonna say that after week 2, after all these good players in their defense." Sam Darnold didn't have Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and he averaged 10 yards per pass. Ty Chandler ran for 8.2 a carry, and they torched you on a game-winning drive. So. It's not good. I mean, Fred
I don't know. I wasn't really pleased on either front. I wasn't pleased on either front with the defense. I mean, the 49ers got 4 sacks, but they only got 6 hits on the quarterback on the whole day, and the quarterback's not the most mobile. So I was a little disappointed. It seemed like Floyd was a non-factor today.
I didn't hear Floyd's name come up.
Not once.
I don't think he's in the box, but I know he played.
Yeah, I was questioning if he even played. I saw Matos got a couple of good pressures and got 1 sack, and that was I don't know if it was a sack, but the intentional.
He got a hit on the quarterback. He got 1 hit on the quarterback.
That was on that intentional grounding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, this game reminded me a lot of last year's Minnesota game. Did it not? I mean, it's kind of a similar kind of game.
It's like, they don't play. How many games in a row have they lost there in Minnesota? 8.
Well, I'll tell you, the part, I thought this game was going to be over way before it actually ended. I thought the game was going to be over after the first on the Vikings' 8th drive, late third quarter. They were at this point they had just scored to make it 20-7. On the Naylor 10-yard touchdown, right? After the Metellus, was it interception by Purdy? He threw it to Metellus. So anyway, they're up. The Vikings are up at this point, 20-7. And they get the ball. The Niners on the next possession, Purdy's ball. This is the ball that he fumbled, and Jihad Ward, on 3rd and 15, he fumbled it. It looked like it was a pick. They first ruled it a pick, switched it to a fumble. But then, so the Vikings get the ball at midfield, and you're thinking, okay, they're up 20-7. They're going to go up, 23-7 or 28-7. And sure enough, I mean, they run Chandler like 7 yards. Chandler runs again. Chandler again for 6. Chandler for 5. And they get down to the 20-yard line, and Darnold runs or throws the ball screen to Jones, and it looks like he's going in, and Warner pops it out, and Yadam falls on it in the end zone. Otherwise, the ball game was over right there. The ball game was over in the third quarter. It would have been 28-7 right there. Instead, the Niners get the ball in their 1, and Purdy puts together an amazing drive all the way down the field, 12 plays, and they score to make it 20-14 on a 10-yard score by Mason. To me, that was the play of the game right there. Yadam, the forced fumble by Warner and the Yadam fumble recovery. Otherwise, that thing's done early.
Larry, what was the time left on that drive when they scored? How much time was left?
When? After the 9 or 12 play drive?
Yeah, the big 99-yard drive. How much was left?
There was 10 minutes and 16 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And at that point, if the Niners can get a stop, they've got a shot to go score a touchdown and win 21-24 or 21-20. 21-20. And instead, Minnesota goes on a 14-play, 6-minute drive, and the Niners give it up on 3 key third downs, and they kick the field goal, make it a 2-score game, and the Niners don't get the ball back until there's, a minute left or something.
I think they got it back with.
It was like 3 minutes left.
Something, whatever it was,
something like that. 2 something or 3 something.
Anyway,
just a very to me. I mean, I know there'll be people talking about Purdy and the decision making. I know, but I mean, overall, I know there'll be people that will be ripping Shanahan for not running more, but ultimately, I mean, it's just you don't make enough good plays to win. I mean, Justin Jefferson has a 97-yard touchdown. Ty Chandler goes for 8-2 a carry. Sam Darnold is not the most mobile guy, and yet he, only was sacked 3 times. So, they just didn't get enough done.
And it, like you said, Fred Warner saved their ass when Aaron Jones fumbled on the 1-yard line. He also saved their ass earlier in the game when they were down 10-0 on SF's 21-yard line and intercepted the ball.
That was a great pick.
Great interception. I mean, Fred Warner kept them in this game multiple times. They're on the first drive of the game. He blocked, or maybe the second drive of the game, he blocked a potential third down completion. So it's like he kept them in this game, and they still couldn't win. So I mean, they had 2 drives there from the Vikings that could have easily turned into 2 touchdowns or potentially 2 points, 2 scoring drives, and it was both stopped by Warner.
Yeah, they were clearly outplayed today, just about in every facet of the game. Some of the play calling that was really off to me too. Some of the balls that that even that last play where they ended up kicking the field goal, the third down where what's his name for the Viking? I can't remember the guy. He almost picked it off and ran the whole way, and then Debo catches it, for a 10-yard loss.
Ginkle?
But that was Ginkle. Yeah, I don't know. What are you calling here? You got to go to the end zone. He's trying to get a pass and set up a run play for Debo.
With the sidearm pass.
Yeah, I didn't like that call at all. Go to the end zone. What are you doing?
Yeah,
trying to do some trickery at the, it's just nuts. And then I thought defensively the Niners were crashing too hard, and it was allowing the the running game to get outside, and Darnold was able to get loose. They didn't have.
There was also some poor communication on some of those patterns. I mean, there was a couple third downs where it's like blown coverage. 2 guys went with 1 guy. This guy's wide open, easy pitch and catch. Here's another one from Gary who says the O-line is trash. I mean, okay, guys, how do you view the Niner O-line? In week 1, they held down Quinnen Williams in that jet front, and they ran the ball, and they're, I think it was 94 yards before contact last week for J.P. Mason. And this week, I mean, if you look at it, you'd say, well, the 49ers ran the ball effectively. I mean, Mason ran for 5 yards a carry on 20 carries. He had 100 yards. But Brock Purdy was sacked 6 times. So, I mean, is it simply that this is not a good pass blocking line and that they are a good run blocking line and that they should be, instead of 36 passes and 25 runs, maybe they would have won this game if it had been 36 runs and 25 passes? What do you guys think?
I think you're 100% right. I mean, it's one of those things where last game, the offensive line was able to run block, and then that set up all the pass game. They were run blocking the entire game successfully against the Jets defensive line, and then when they needed to pass block, the plays were there for Shanahan, and that's also where Shanahan just thrives as a play caller when he can run the pass off of the run. But in this game, when you have to be in pass sets, that's where you see the breakdowns in the coverage from the offensive line. I think people got way too happy with the 49ers offensive line after last week, thinking that it was like some great unit or something. It's still going to be probably an average to below average unit. Maybe slightly above average if they overperform, but today it definitely showed.
And I thought Trent looked like he was getting bull rushed. I mean, he was getting pushed back into Purdy, and then they were doing some blitzes on that side of the ball, and Trent was picking up his guy, but then it left an open guy just straight shot at Purdy. I was watching closely McKivitz just to see if he was the cause of a lot of the sacks, and it looked more like on one play I noticed he got pushed and thrown down, but it looked like the left side of the line was collapsing more than the right side today.
Well, Williams hasn't been there all summer. I mean, maybe that's part of it. Moncrine Acorn says 3 passes to start the game. Mason averaged 5-2 a carry against the Jets. The opening drive took about a minute. Penalties, block punt, 2 picks, 6 sacks on Purdy. Niners looked flat. And then we got this one. Kyle's an effing moron. He cannot call plays to create a rhythm to save his effing life. He is our biggest weakness. Rye, what do you think? I mean, how much blame does Shanahan deserve? How much blame does goes on the O-line? Is the Niner O-line more of a run blocking O-line? They didn't look good pass blocking today, that's for sure.
I mean, if you want to get on Kyle about the O-line, like it's definitely is a little bit of like he has a little bit of hubris when it comes. I think he thinks he can kind of throw anybody in there if he's got his one anchor, his Joe Staley or his Trent Williams. He can kind of throw anybody in there, and because of the running game, he can make them look good, which is true to some extent. It's just in the like really high leverage moments when you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs and they have Chris Jones and you're down a touchdown and you need a score. Like that's where it really shows up. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be fine. I still think Pooney looked really great last week. I wasn't really paying attention too much this week. I think it's going to improve. I mean, it's going to be fine. I don't know how much blame to give Shanahan. It just seems like the offense is rather limited. It does not look like the offense when CMC is in there normally. Now, I don't know how much of that is Aiyuk just rounding into form, and then how much of that is CMC. And then was Kyle like preparing – like, can he not go to his full playbook without CMC? I don't know.
What do you guys think of Odom, by the way? How much of that was Odom? How much of that was Jair on the 97-yarder?
I think it was mostly on Jair.
Was
yeah,
it?
It was on the high safety. He bit on a big route and just got burned. And I don't know why he would bite on that because he must have just not seen Jefferson going deep because obviously if he's the single high, he has that deep zone. So
that was a beautiful throw. Beautiful throw by Darnold.
I mean, yeah, Darnold was able to do what he can kind of do, which is like he has a really nice arm. He doesn't, he's not always been the most accurate, but he has the talent of a first-round pick. He was a first-round pick. And he scrambled a little bit today, and he got some key first downs there, got him in field goal range. I don't know. It's crazy.
If Hufanga's ready next week, does he take Odom's spot or does he take Brown's spot?
It's a good question. I think he probably takes Odom's spot. Rick Diaz says the 49ers cannot stop the run. Minnesota was throwing the ball to the right, to the left, attack in the middle. And as I said this a week ago, they got to stop the run. Watch those corners. So watch the middle. Appreciate you, Rick. Then we got this one from KJ Everly. He says, Larry, can you play center? Jake Brendel's garbage. What'd you guys think of Brendel today?
He's just too small.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you exactly what he did. I
haven't studied him in this game, but I get the sense that maybe the Niners' best option would be to go with a guy like Nugent. I don't know. I think Nugent has maybe got more potential than Brendel.
I don't know. Did any of those interior guys get the sacks? I mean, I think it was mostly
edge guys.
Yeah, it was mostly edge guys.
I feel like I saw a lot coming from the left side.
Yeah, Blake Cashman had 3 pass deflections and 1 QB
he had a great day. The former
Pat
Houston
Jones
Texan
had 2 QB hits, 2 sacks. Then Ginkle, Greenard had a QB hit. I mean, that's mostly edge guys there. So we'll have to see who was on each one of those sacks. But yeah, I don't think it was necessarily Brendel. I know the center calls the protection, so maybe that's what he means. But
let's get caught up on some of these supers here. We got this one, Big Tim 3. He says, Krug, all those mistakes you just named, and it was a 1-possession game. Purdy's plays hurt us most. What do you think, guys? Do you agree with Big Tim 3 that Purdy's mistakes hurt the Niners the most?
What, him dropping the ball?
I mean, he had a fumble and a pick. He also had some amazing throws in this game.
It did hurt him, but I think
it was deflected, right?
I thought the pick that was deflected was. I thought it was he probably shouldn't have thrown it because he was covered. I mean,
and then the one that you mentioned before, late in the game to. In the pass to Debo, I mean, that went literally through both of Van Ginkel's hands.
Yeah, that was
before it got to Debo. We got this one from Big Tim. He says Purdy had time to let the ball go on those sacks. I I didn't see. I have to watch it again. Loco Ant 1624. Tone is set with Kyle. Outcoached, team not ready, horrible play calling, 100 million on the offense, and can't put up 20 plus points on the Vikings. It's sad, man. Well, yeah, that might be a good question here. You look at this game, there were a lot of pros and cons and positives and negatives on both sides. If I said to you, Minnesota, we run into each other tomorrow morning in an elevator and someone says, hey, I saw the Vikings won 23-17. Well, who would you pin this up more on, the Niners offense or the Niners defense? What do you think? What do you say before those elevator doors open?
Defense.
Wow.
See, that's the thing. Wow. I mean, the Niners offense scored 17. Minnesota's not supposed to be this awesome defensive team. You're not playing in weather. It's it's a fast surface.
Not to move off the topic a little bit, but like the Cardinals are boat racing the Rams right now. So
yeah,
they could be playing an 0-2 Rams team at LA next week.
Desperate Rams team.
So
and suddenly the Cardinals look pretty good.
Yeah,
I picked the Cardinals today. I picked the Cardinals today. I thought they would. They looked pretty good last week against Buffalo, especially in the first half. And
that's kind of the Cardinals special, though, is like get up big, be in these competitive games.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we are somebody, and we lost. Ronnie just said deuces. There you go. Maitland, JP Mason carried this team today. Shanahan let down the team with his play calling in the red zone today. What do you think, Shanahan? Are you happy or not happy with Shanahan's red zone play calling today?
I'll say this. The first 4th and goal from the 2 where they didn't score, and then they got the 97-yard touchdown pass. I was for him going for it. I thought, you know what? If you don't make it, you pin them back there on their own 2-yard line. I had no problem with them going for it. It looked like it was going to be a touchdown. The guy was open. Who was he throwing that to? Was it Jennings? I think. Can't remember. But the ball got deflected at the goal line. Wasn't that the play that got deflected?
Okay.
I can't remember.
It was early, but I was like, go for it, Kyle. He went for it twice. He went for it on 4th down at their own 40 or 45-yard line. Or not their own, but
yeah, so they went for obviously on the first 4th and 3, they punted. They punted on the first 4th and 3. But on the second possession on 4th and 5, they also punted, and that's the one that got blocked. And I'll tell you, on that play,
no, not that one, not that. No, I'm not talking about the block. I'm talking about when they went for it on 4th down on Minnesota's 40, 45-yard line. They got the first, and then they got it on that drive down to the 2-yard line, and it was 4th down, and he went for it again. I thought the pass was deflected at the goal line. It was. Yeah.
It was deflected. The ball to Jennings.
Yeah, it was to Jennings, right. He was open. Yeah. He was open.
It got deflected. The pass on the 4th and goal, on the 49ers' third possession, they drove from their 10 all the way down the field. This is the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second. And on 4th and goal from the 2, Purdy threw his pass to Jennings, and it got deflected. Jennings almost caught it anyway, but there was a turnover on downs. And then a couple plays later, Darnold goes up top to Jefferson, and that was a huge turnaround because Shanahan's thinking, okay, look, we'll go for it on 4th and goal. We'll either get it or we'll keep them buried in their own territory. And instead, 3 plays later, they're in your end zone, and you're down 10-0. So yeah, that was a huge momentum swing right there. And then on the next possession, the Niners went for it on 4th and 2 from the 43, as you said. And Purdy ran for, it looked like what might have been a first down, but there was an illegal shift penalty, and Minnesota was awarded the ball on the Aiyuk illegal shift, turnover on downs again. And then then Minnesota was going down the field. Darnold gets picked off by Fred Warner. Just, an incredible play by Warner inside the red zone on the 21-yard line. So Fred Warner saved their bacon. Isaac Yiadom saved their bacon. The reality is they got their doors blown off in Minnesota again. If without a spectacular performance by those, individual performances by Yadam and Warner, the 49ers are losing this game probably by double digits. So, I mean, this is not a good game for the 49ers for sure. And I'm sure they will not be happy when they're talking about it tomorrow. Loco says nothing special on third down defense. No disguising. Yeah, the Niners' third down defense was not very good. And Ronnie says there is a curse. 30 years. Tell me differently. I don't know if there's a curse. Do you guys believe in the Madden curse? Because CMC is the guy on the cover of the Madden game, and now he's cooked.
I don't know if I believe in it, but it sure is.
Not literally, but it seems like that has been happening a lot.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of examples if you did believe in it.
Yeah.
Coase says Mason averaged 5 yards per carry. Kyle throws it on 4th and 1 on the 1. Yeah. Now Pace had gotten through on a couple of those, which he's talking about 4th and 1 on the 1.
That was one that Ginkel, I think, was Van Ginkel went through his hands into Debo.
It was kind of it wasn't really the 1 though. It was more like the 2 or 2.5, wasn't it?
It wasn't the 1.
It wasn't the 1. They said it was the 1, but it was more like the 2 or 2.5. Yeah, but come on, seriously. You got a 240-pound back. Run the ball. And he's never gone for anything less than 5.5 yards a carry. Run the ball. I agree. I absolutely agree. I think Coase is on the money here.
This was can I play a clip from Shanahan today?
Yeah.
This was Shanahan at the presser talking about his third down conversions.
We didn't convert on third down. When you go I think we were 2 of 9 on third down, which usually doesn't lead to touchdowns very much unless you're doing it all on first and second. 1 of 3 on fourth down doesn't help. I think we finished, on that last or 2 of 4 in the red zone. So it was a challenge today, and we can do better.
So that was Shanahan.
There you go. Ricky Williams says, "What's up with these dudes holding onto 64 to get him out of here? He has no anchor against the pass. Dude was on skates the whole game. Over it, fellas." He's talking about Brendel, right? Isn't that Jake Brendel? Brendel 64? I think so. Jid Scan Music. Did it feel like the calls were too Debo centric? See, I don't. If you run an end around, yeah, that's a Debo call. You called his number. But when Brock Purdy drops back to pass, goes through his progressions and finds Debo, you can't really say it's Debo. I mean, it's not like every play that went to Debo was designed for Debo. He's one option. He's one of the eligibles in the pattern.
And Debo looked good today, so I don't really understand. Like, even if it was, he looked good. He made high point catches all day.
I mean, who would you go to right now? Debo or Aiyuk?
Not Debo right now.
I'm going to Debo.
Debo's in much better shape, and you could see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Z Roach or Zero Keach.
Z-Rock each one.
Z-Rock Keach one. Says atrocious offensive play sequencing calling is what lost this game. It caught up with them. Let's not keep blaming everything else. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Half Dead says, told y'all Odom was trash last week.
That pick.
I don't want to see that. I've got Kansas City in that game.
Threw it right over the middle.
Kansas City, it was 3-3 last I looked.
I think the reality is that they lost on offense and they lost on defense. Like there is no finger pointing of this is what. It's just like they looked like shit on defense stopping the ball, and they looked like shit on offense when they wanted to get a first down. So it was a team loss in that sense.
Yeah, and the other thing is on offense. I mean, I know Mason is your guy right now because CMC's out, but does Kyle not believe in? I mean, 1 carry to Garendo, that's it.
I didn't like it though. It just from the eye test, that 1 carry.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And to me, it was like it was the last play of the quarter. It was like, here, let's give Mason a little extra breather room. I'll stick Garendo in there at the end.
He's not a running back.
He's not natural with it. Yeah.
He's not a natural running back. He doesn't have pick and slide. He doesn't have vision. Doesn't read his blocks.
More like a fullback.
He's just athletic. He's just really
fast.
athletic.
He's just a big, heavy, fast guy. But I would say he's more of a He's an athlete. He's a great special teamer. He might be able to be a guy you isolate down the seam on somebody who can't run that fast. He might be a fullback. He might be an H-back. He might be a backup tight end. He might be a receiver. He's not a running back. Running back is an instinctive position. You have to run with body lean. You have to be able to read blocks. You have to be able to pick and slide. You have to be able to shift to the left and right. You have to run with vision. And, he doesn't do any of that.
Well,
He's
Larry,
upright.
It's like some people have it and some people don't. That's why you can put Debo in the backfield, because Debo just has that like natural running back with the ball in his hands ability where he can pick the hole and run through it. Garendo played wide receiver in high school and never started, or only started one game at running back in college. He's a workout monster, and he might be really good, but he doesn't look like something looks wrong when he has the ball in his hands. Like,
it's like Garrett Hayne.
What's the deal?
Yeah.
I know
Exactly.
I know Mitchell's out for the entire year. Was it an injury that he was not going to be able to come back from, or was it they get
required surgery? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I think they're going to need another back.
They are,
because if Mason goes down, they're in trouble. Because I don't think CMC is going to be available till November. I don't think this 4 games is going to do it.
There's good and bad news. I mean, the bad news is they've lost a great player, probably for a big chunk of the year. The good news is there's backs everywhere you look. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of running backs. There's running backs on practice squads. There's running backs that are on people's depth charts that you could trade for. I went through this whole thing, this little exercise yesterday on KMBR on my 49er Forecast show, just to give you an idea. Yeah, I'll just give you the quick name rundown. Free agents out there: Kareem Hunt, Matt Breida, Boston Scott, Jerick McKinnon, Leonard Fournette.
Oh, okay. Should we McKinnon?
Yeah, seriously. Running backs on other teams' practice squads: Amani Bailey, Michael Carter, Jonathan Ward, Frank Gore Jr., Jabari Small, Dante Miller, Deneric Prince, J.J. Taylor, Kevin Harris. And then backs that potentially could be traded for at some point: Dante Foreman, Pierre Strong, Cleveland, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, Chicago, maybe Antonio Gibson in New England, maybe Najee Harris in Pittsburgh, maybe Damian Pierce in Houston, maybe Jamal Williams in New Orleans, maybe Jeff Wilson in Miami, Miles Sanders, Carolina. So there's Javonte Williams. So there's going to be options out there. There's going to be options, and they're not all expensive backs. But you're right. I think that I would say that, and I cut it down into 3, the season into 3 6-week kind of patterns. I would say no way he plays in the first 6 weeks. I would only want him to play in that second 6 weeks if he was just absolutely look great. And then after that, I would like to see him dust him off around week 12 and see if you can get him through the Super Bowl. That would be my plan.
Yep. I agree.
Greg Argisi says, hey, Aiyuk, take the money and do US. There you go. We got this one. B Cruisin 302. Is Purdy worth $60 million? He's what, 18-5 career?
I don't know if anybody's worth $60 million in the NFL except Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4. I mean, it's actually similar to the Aiyuk situation. It's like, you give Patrick Mahomes $60 million, there's no way that goes wrong. You know what I mean? If you give it to Purdy, maybe there's an opening for it to go wrong.
I mean, he's a very good quarterback, and he's your guy. Is he the greatest quarterback that ever played? I don't think anybody would say that. But, he's probably going to get close to that. So you better kind of wrap your arms around that. Harry Johnson says, here you go, $1.99. Greg Argisi, Larry, how about asking Kyle some tough questions? Oh, yeah, great, Greg. Because all kinds of tough questions are coming his way from other people. Heck, Dell says, strangely, the left side of the line struggling more than the right side. Is Trent gassed? He didn't have training camp. That could be a part of it.
He may not be gassed, but like gassed in the sense that he's toast, he's done for. He's probably just not in full game shape yet.
Harry Johnson says Gross Matos got manhandled today. Not impressed. I didn't see a lot of Gross Matos. I don't. How many snaps do you think Gross Matos got?
I don't know. I only heard his
lot?
name called on that one. Was it intentional grounding call on Darnold, and where Kevin Harlan called him Gross Matos.
Gross Matos. He did get in there on one hit on the quarterback. Well, I got to watch more of him. I mean, he's always been the physical prototype going back to Penn State, but he's also been a guy who hasn't really played to that physical prototype. Distortion Production says it's so frustrating. Our DCs never blitz, especially when Darnold had all day in his end zone to JJ. Can we get a corner or safety blitz once in a while? There you go. Bengals
touchdown or not? Oh, touchdown!
Touchdown!
That's their
Bengals.
That's their wide receiver that everyone's hyping up in fantasy. Io.
Oh yeah,
Zoshavas or whatever.
I think my son has him. Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah.
Bengals up 10-3 on the road. Uh-oh.
Danny's conspiring 4 trades in his head right now.
What's that? No, I'm not playing this year. I'm not playing this year.
I said you're conspiring 4 trades in your head right now.
Yeah, no, I've actually
Danny's
my son's
down potential trades.
He's taken after me. He traded for Jefferson yesterday.
Oh, his foot might have been down.
Propa says
no, it's dragging. It's dragging. I think it drugged.
Propa says Daniel Jones, Tua, and even Trevor Lawrence contracts aren't aging well. Something to consider before giving $60 million to someone.
Those are
so. What are your choices? Seriously, it's funny. It's funny. There's so many people who are big fans of Grant, and Grant put out, "Is he worth $60 million?" And then immediately it's like, people asking, "Is he worth $60 million?" Interesting how that works.
It's not really a question if he's worth $60 million. It's what the going rate is, and you have to have a.
But also, let's review those names: Daniel Jones, Tua, Trevor Lawrence. What did they complete before they got their contract? Nothing. Brock Purdy's been to 2 NFC championships. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has been one of the most overrated players in the league now.
He just has
Tua stinks. Daniel Jones might be the worst player to play quarterback of his era, right? I mean, those are bad players, are they not? I mean, Lawrence has potential. Tua's career is probably done. Jones's career never really started. I mean, Lawrence is benefiting
heavily from the fact that he has 4 years of college name recognition where he was considered the chosen one, like of quarterbacks for 4 years. So people are just giving him all these opportunities. They lost today to the Browns.
Yeah, it's actually the anti-Purdy. It's the anti-Purdy.
M. Patel, Darnold is better than Purdy. That's what you gotta love. You gotta love the NFL. Everybody's just the creature of the moment.
Yeah, right now Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Darnold are running the league. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That is actually facts. We could look back in 6 weeks and everyone could be screaming, "Oh my God, Sam Darnold's the worst quarterback to ever walk this earth." But in week 2 right now, he's like
Sam Darnold is him. All right. We got this one from Vishal. What do you guys think about Hargrave? Malik got double teamed, but Hargrave didn't come off his blocks, it seems like, for run and pass game. I really thought on paper that the Niners' advantage was Hargrave and Collins inside, and that those guys were going to wreck shop and kind of rule the day, and it just didn't happen. I mean, they were out there, they made some plays, but they didn't dominate at all. And on paper, they should have. So that was kind of disappointing.
That was the surprise of last game, was that Malik Collins and Hargrave were really eating up blocks together and stopping the run, making their presence felt. But today it didn't see much.
Brian Flores is also got to give the guy props. I mean, he took the Dolphins to the playoffs.
He's a good coach.
He's a good coach. He probably just, he went out unceremoniously, but he probably deserves another head coaching gig.
Cosmo said, how about BA answer questions? He's a top paid wide receiver. Why did he not? Did he ditch out on the presser? Yeah, I mean, he held out all summer. Doesn't look the same to me. Doesn't look the same.
Doesn't have any aura without the braids.
He just doesn't. He doesn't look as fast as he did last year.
Kittle at the presser said, "quote There's things we can't do without Christian."
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want me to play it?
Yeah.
I can play it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, play it.
Christian is the offensive MVP for a reason. He was in the MVP voting for a reason. He had 20 plus touchdowns for a reason because he does it all in the pass game and the run game. It's like, I mean, it's really fun because it's like having Debo and him are just interchangeable. Like you'll have Christian running routes, and then all of a sudden you put a Mike linebacker on him, and Debo's in the backfield. You have no idea what you're going to get. So it just gives us another dimension. And then he's voted like he didn't do anything. He didn't do OTAs. He didn't do really much of training camp. He still voted a captain. So like there's the impact that you guys can see. He has an incredible impact on this team. Just him being around, he boosts everyone's confidence. But I mean, I still think we could have. I mean, we won last week. I think we had opportunities to find a way to win today, and we just didn't. But yeah, it's just there's things that we can't do without Christian.
Well, I mean, no S. Surprise, surprise. He the best player in the league. You miss him when he's not there. But let's not suggest that JP Mason was part of the problem, because he wasn't. He's part of the solution. If anything, they didn't go to him enough. They need to utilize him more. He's young, he's healthy, he's powerful. It seemed like he was in and out of rhythm today. And I'll say this on the defensive side of the ball, Jorge Reyes says, where was Floyd? I didn't see Leonard Floyd. He was a major factor in week 1. He was a total non-factor in week 2. So, that's frustrating. That was frustrating because I really thought he was going to just be that guy who's going to be, that every week guy that you could depend on off the edge opposite Nick. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't, because he was a non-factor today. We got this one, RG2424. You got to look at this DC. Might be Staley taking over. Oh my goodness. How much rope does Sorensen have as the defensive coordinator? Even if there was discontent, would we ever even find out about it? Or would they just keep the roles the same and internally do things differently?
Well, I will say one funny thing is like the Jefferson play, the Jefferson, whatever, 97-yarder was like that. How can that possibly happen? Like you never see that. The only thing that really I can think of that was similar to that was the Jordan Addison play last year when Wilkes was calling the defense, the zero blitz at the end of the half. It reminded me of that.
Well, I mean, and then, I got to think that maybe Kevin O'Connell outcoached Nick Sorensen if you can get Justin Jefferson ISO'd on Jair Brown. I mean, that's an advantage Justin Jefferson every time. Jair Brown is a thumper. He's a hitter. He's a box safety. He's got a good nose for the football, but I would not describe what his value is as a defensive back. It's he's a hitter who's got a great nose for the ball. He's not an elite coverage guy. He's not Ed Reed. You know what I mean? He's a good cover guy, but to ask him to cover Justin Jefferson, no, that's asking too much.
The thing with that play,
home 6. Look at that.
The thing about that play, like it's a different situation. When one situation last year, it's like you're going into the half, you're just trying to stop them from getting a field goal, and you did a single high cover safety, blitz. This was Darnold on the 3-yard line. Like if they blitz them and they sack them, it's a safety. So I could see the logic there for blitzing. But this is kind of interesting. Next gen stats on the blitzes. Darnold was 2 of 3 on the blitz from blitzes from the Niners, 126 yards and 1 touchdown. Obviously, one of those plays being the Jefferson 97-yarder. Brock Purdy was blitzed 15 times. He was 10 of 15 for 91 yards and an interception.
Yeah, and the other thing, with the Niners defense, we talked about the defensive backs this year, the cornerbacks specifically. They got much better coverage cornerbacks, but safeties, they're missing Gibson, who was their best cover safety.
Well, he wasn't a great cover guy either.
You don't
Danny.
think so?
He
was on the
He's
ball.
a great interceptor. He was a great interceptor.
He's in a lot of ways, he is just the older version of Jair. I mean, he has 35 career interceptions.
That's what I mean. He had a nose for the ball.
Yeah,
but he wasn't.
They lack that player. They lack a coverage player.
They don't have anybody that's like a ball hawk in the center of the field. Brown seems more like you said, a big hitter. He's a guy that can lay a hit on you, but he doesn't seem to have. I mean, that step he took, he bid on that pass. I mean, that's really not defensible. As you can't defend the guy for missing that play because.
How do you get him isolated? I mean, how did they get him isolated on a safety who can't cover him? Why is he not being covered by Mooney? What's that?
Oh, he cut down the middle of the field.
He was being covered by Odom, I think, in like 1-on-1, and then Brown is the single high safety playing that deep zone, and then he bit on like a dig route for some reason, and then it got abandoned his zone. He abandoned his own zone, and then Odom got burnt, and just.
I'm sure they saw that in the film.
I'm just saying, I would like to have my corners matched up if possible. I mean, obviously, if you're playing a zone, he runs across the middle of the field.
Yeah, they weren't. I don't think they were shadowing him with Ward the whole game. They definitely weren't, because I remember there was one play early in the game where Bosa was in zone coverage guarding Jefferson. So like they weren't.
A couple more here. Cosmo says, "How about BA answer questions? He's a top paid wide receiver." Heck Dell says, "Should have paid to keep Darnold as a backup. Perfect example of letting cheap talent walk, then turn around and they beat you." Heck Dell. I mean, there's, it's like you're not going to pay Sam Darnold. The one thing the Niners really can't do is they can't, once you have this much talent as they have, and you've got this many guys who are among the highest paid players at their position, there's certain spots you got to save money on, and that's one of them. You know what I mean? That's one of them right there. So, yeah, I mean, backup quarterback, they're going with Brandon Allen at whatever, $3 million over Sam Darnold at 10, or Sam Darnold. Even I think last year Sam Darnold was on the books here for 5, and they couldn't afford to pay it. And probably next year they won't even be able to pay Allen or Dobbs, and they'll have to go with somebody like Mordecai, who's cheaper. We got Brian, who says, "Wish they would have won so I could suggest you offer Brock shoes Kittle gave you as a joke about losing his shoe in the game. Sorry, need humor here." Brock did have his did get a flat tire in this one. Flav in the house says, "Kyle's turning Brock more and more into a pocket quarterback. Can he get him out of the pocket intentionally ever? Utilize his legs more. It's infuriating." I agree. I'd like to see Purdy a little bit on the move, because I think he's good on the move. I think he throws well on the move. We got this one from the Niner you love to hate. Poorly coached team, head coach, leader wanted. Do you guys not feel like Shanahan's a leader? How do you view Shanahan as a leader?
I think he's a solid leader. I mean, he's got the respect of his players. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, the players love him. They play hard for him. You're not going to win every game. I mean, guy's been to 4 NFC championships in 5 years. He's got to be a good leader to do that. Now, does that absolve him from everything? No, he's got to get rid of some of his stubbornness, I think, in the way he does certain things. And I mentioned it earlier today. One of the things is he's too stubborn and thinks I don't need to run no huddle. I'll just do it my way. My offense is so dang good. I don't need to have no huddle. Well, sometimes you do, Kyle, and you better start practicing it, because you're going to be behind in games. and you're going to need to hurry up. And just taking your time because you think you can outsmart the other team with your play calling, you have to. I think that's his biggest weakness, is that he is so smart and he knows so much that he thinks he doesn't need to do certain things like the rest of the league does. Every team. I mean, look at Kansas City when they have to do no huddle. I mean, is Andy Reid too big for the no huddle? No. If Andy Reid's doing it, I think I'd take the lead. Follow what Andy Reid's doing. He's got your number.
I mean, Andy Reid is, on top of his profession. He's going for a three-peat. He's got the best quarterback going. He's a creative play caller. He's climbed to the top of the mountain. Kyle's where Andy Reid was when he was in Philadelphia. He's getting close, but he hasn't been able to get it done. He hasn't been able to climb the mountain. So, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be lots of people that are very critical of his game plan. The one positive of today was that Bosa, when he went down, it looked bad. I thought that one, I was shocked when I saw Bosa back out on the field. I was like, wow, that's amazing, because it seemed like his left kind of ankle foot area just got jacked around, caught under bodies, and it looked like it could have been bad, but obviously the fact that he got back out there is a great sign.
The fact that it's a low ankle is always better than the high ankle. The low ankle guys, do it in basketball all the time. They're back 2-3 days later, playing a game. You get that high ankle, man, and it's like 6 weeks to really heal up. So I see, rolling ankles isn't as bad. I mean, you've all had ankle injuries where you roll it. It's not as nearly as bad as, but the one thing that Jefferson, that same play, Jefferson went out with a quad injury, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. He didn't come back, even if that game somehow.
I mean, which makes the end so discouraging, because they entered the game with no Addison and no Hawkinson. Then Aaron Jones wasn't 100%. He was nursing something, and Jefferson was knocked out. And the Niners, put together a 12-play, 99-yard drive, and they cut the lead to 6. And there's 10 minutes to play, and you're like, okay, they have no Jefferson, they have no Jones. This is going to be a 3-and-out. The Niners are going to get it back with like 7-8 minutes. They're going to score a touchdown. They're going to win by 1. And they're going to get out of Dodge. They're not going to cover, but they're going to get the W. And instead, 14-play drive, 3 third-down conversions. Sorensen's defense just folded at the end. So, I mean, it's like, I agree with the people who are like, Kyle's got to shoulder some of this blame. His offense did not produce enough points. I agree. But, man, that last drive with no Jefferson, to let them move all the way down the field with what? I mean, with Jalen Nailors and some guy named Munt and a Powell, and I mean, Ty Chandler, and I mean
Trent Sherfield Sr.
Trent Sherfield. I mean, just donkeys just led them on this massive 14-play drive. So the Niners didn't deserve to win. I mean, the offense didn't play well. The special teams didn't play well. The Wishnowski effort, by the way, on the block punt was heinous.
Yeah, I saw you got chewed out by Kyle on that.
What are you doing, Wishnowski? I mean,
that looked more like though, Wishnowski's the kind of guy that he relishes an opportunity to try and lay a hit. I'm pretty sure that was just some stupid brain fart. Like he thought the play was dead.
I mean, I always thought of Wishnowski as kind of like a, like an old tough guy, but that was not his finest moment. So they, and then to get the punt blocked. I mean, to me, Brian Schneider was billed as like, oh man, the special teams struggles have come to an end, and that's not the case. So he was billed as this amazing special teams coach. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Offensively, to score, 17 against this Vikings defense, that's disappointing. And then defensively, to get down on the final drive, and there's no Jefferson and no Jones and no anybody, and you're sitting there giving up big plays and a 14 play drive that gets you beat. So just a collective, offense, defense, special teams, equal blame in this one, as far as I'm concerned. Or do you guys blame 1/3 of the game more?
No,
That was a good
I think you're
all-around
right.
effort.
Yeah. We got this one. Perfect Blackness Senior says this is not on JP Mason or because CMC being out. This was on Shanny's stubborn game plan. The first drive showed it, and our defensive coordinator getting schooled.
I don't understand why every time the Niners do something I don't want to be like the Shanahan apologist, but like every time the Niners lose, it's like some malicious, like evil Shanahan thing where it's like he's an evil asshole, and like I just don't understand why it's always that. It's like, oh, he's too arrogant to coach this team. It's like, what? Like how are we getting? Like, did you talk to him? What's going on? Like, I'm missing something here. I'm always.
It's kind of funny. Everybody comes.
It's the low hanging fruit. It's like, you know what? Yeah. If you do stuff for clicks, and some people do, if you have to talk
I'm not talking about content creators.
But if you're talking, but that's where it's coming from. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from the content creators that sell out for clicks by talking endlessly about the coach and the quarterback. Yeah. Because that's what's going to have an opinion about those guys simply because they're on the screen more.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it is.
Exactly right. Mark Graves hits it right. He says they're the casual fans out there that come out. They hear things. The sky's falling. The Niners lost. Like they're supposed to go 17-0 and then march through the playoffs and win 20 games. And news guys, there's pro football players on the other team that are getting paid too.
Look, I have no problem saying if you think that Kyle Shanahan coached a bad game today. I don't think that the offense was really doing anything special. He's throwing all these behind the line of scrimmage plays that have been shown to be like negative EPA plays across the entire NFL. But to then be like, it's because he's this, and it's like something about his personality. It's like I don't know how you could possibly say that without knowing. You don't really know.
I think the area they needed to do today to exploit that they didn't do. They were trying to get the ball out because of the pressure was crashing in, and they were trying to throw these, wide receiver screens, and instead of just take what the defense is giving you. Mason could have been open all day with a little dunk pass, but they never threw it to him once. Not one try did they throw a short pass of 4 or 5 yards to Mason and let him run for 3 or 4.
I thought they did once. Didn't they throw him a pass? I could have.
Maybe I missed it.
That went for
maybe
like 4
okay.
yards.
You know what? Take what the defense gives you. Move the ball 4, 5, 6 yards a play, and you get your 10 yards. But instead, they were looking for longer passes, and they were getting sacked. How many times? 6. So that's 6 negative plays. When you got a pass rush that's coming at you that fast, you've got to send the receivers out to get the linebackers pushed back far enough so you can doink it to Mason and let him run. He's not CMC, but he's a bull. He's not going to go down as easy as CMC. CMC's got better moves, but shoot, you could have probably done that play all day long for 6, 7 yards a pop, and then that will bring the defense, make them more honest, and then you can throw over the top. And they were able to throw over the top a lot today to Samuel. They were able to do that, but that's only when the offensive line gave them enough time. But I would have just kept hitting Mason with short little passes because that play's open in every play of every NFL game, the little drop-off pass to the running back.
Okay, so it's that time of the show where we get to throw a couple fun ones in here. Silicon Valley Man. Larry still thinks he's a scout. Thank you, Silicon Valley Man. Appreciate that. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a post game after a loss without this little doozy. The Burned Man. The 49ers should have a fire sale now, all caps. The picks they'd get back would turn them into a real dynasty, not a team that keeps choking.
That's actually
Choking in all
crazy.
caps.
Wait, that's actually crazy. Every time they lose, it's like they need to sell.
Sell.
They need to sell.
Get rid of them all.
Burn it. Burn it.
Gotta go. Everything's gotta go.
Tear it down.
I mean,
Bring in Farhan.
yeah, exactly. I mean, what the heck? That one is just, oh, here we go. We got another guy. Easy Tino. Bill Belichick, please.
Dude, it was the worst. I mean, obviously after the Super Bowl, it was bad. But after the Ravens game on Christmas.
Shanny got owned. He struts around. He's arrogant. He's arrogant, I tell you. He struts around like he's won 3 Super Bowls.
That's a nice picture.
And then Propa says, people should be able to call out Kyle when he messes up. Okay, go ahead. Do it. Go ahead. Do it. Call him out. Call him out. I mean, whatever. I mean, I guess you got to decide what you think's a mistake. I'd have to hear what you think's a mistake. Purdy was terrible. Team struggles versus man coverage. Did you guys think Purdy was terrible? He made a number of good plays. His efficiency numbers.
He wasn't great, but
what was it? What was that completion percentage? What did he complete today?
The stats
28 of 36 for 319.
I thought his only bad play. I thought he had a couple of plays that were like back. One was the real pick where he threw it. The man was covered, and he had to have the guy. He had no opening to even take that shot.
He completed 78% for 319.
Right.
That's not
and then
bad.
The second was the ball slipped out of his hands. I don't think he played bad. He was under duress like crazy. He made some plays with his feet, being able to escape the pocket, and
ran a couple times.
Brock Purdy was not the reason the Niners lost today.
No, I mean, I just thought the offense in general looked a lot more like the Jimmy G Niner offense. A lot of passes over the middle. Even with Purdy, I was holding my breath on some passes just because it seemed to be one of those days. So,
did you guys watch the other morning games? Oh, just to update, by the way, Arizona is kicking the Rams' ass. It is 24-3 Arizona. Steelers up 7-0 on the Broncos. Bengals just got a fumble from the Chiefs. Bengals lead 13-10 right before half. Bears Texans go tonight. This morning, Saints put up 44 and beat Dallas. 3 touchdowns on the ground for Kamara. 44-19.
What's the biggest surprise to you today? The Saints ripping the Cowboys, the Niners losing to the Vikings, or the Ravens losing to the Raiders at home?
How about the Buccaneers beating the Lions in Detroit?
Yeah, that's another one. It's upset Sunday today, man. It's like college football.
How about the Packers winning at home behind Malik Willis?
Yeah. I like the Packers team. They got great receivers. I love all their receivers. They got, the Packers probably got the deepest receiver room because they're 4 deep.
How about Malik Neighbors having 17 targets and 10 catches and 127 yards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
J.K.
he was going to do it
Dobbins had a
against
big day.
somebody, yeah. Were you guys overwhelmed this morning? I was trying to pay attention to the Niners, obviously, but there was 10 games going on at the same time. I'll tell
you one thing that stands out to me from this morning is that I don't care what uniform the guy's in. Gardner Minshew he'll just compete. He was 30 of 38 on the road in Baltimore for 276, a touchdown and a pick. He was sacked 5 times on the afternoon, and still the Raiders win 26-23. The Raiders couldn't run it at all. The Raiders ran 1.6 a carry, and Baltimore averaged 5.6 a carry. But Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers caught 18 balls between the two of them for 200 yards. And a touchdown, and the Raiders win on the road. Good for the Raiders.
Yeah, good for the Raiders. I was kind of out on Minshew halfway through the game. I was kind of just I I mean, he's one of those guys where if you look at his like career stats, they look incredible. And you're like, how is this guy not like a more well-known guy, like a better starting quarterback in the league? It didn't look great today, but definitely at the end, I mean, he was peppering Bowers and Devontae, and things were starting to work out. But I don't know what their deal is with Zamir White and Madison. Madison looked absolutely cooked last year, and now he's like the lead guy. Doesn't look like they can run the ball at all, but Crosby got him.
John Naylor says up north, Seahawks pull out the overtime win. Now 2-0 early days, but Coach McDonald has something. They beat Denver last week, and they got a win today over the Patriots. Kind of a soft starting for them as far as who they're playing. Herbie Holland says, let's be real. Sometimes styles make fights, and Minnesota at home is a bad matchup moving on to next week. Take the emotions out of it. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the Niners have now lost 8 straight trips to Minneapolis. And, it's like they were asked about it, of course, and Bosa was like, hey, it is a long flight. They got a lousy turf. He loves the crowd and the atmosphere there, but it's not an easy place to play for sure. And the Niners 8 losses in a row there in Minnesota. I mean, it's almost like a scheduled defeat at this point.
It's a tough place to play.
It really is.
And last year, it was, at least you could say, that was the Niners lost every game last year when they didn't have Debo and Trent. Like everyone was up for the game. I mean, CMC wasn't, but that wasn't the difference. So
last year was the game when Purdy got the maybe concussion, right? And played through it.
He played great. He had completed against them through 3 quarters 84% of his passes, but then that 4th quarter he threw 2 picks, and he had maybe gotten concussed, and there was some talk about was that why he turned it over? But the bottom line is the Vikings have just been able to play well, make a number of plays. They don't it's a tough environment. It's loud plays. It's Niners always seem like they fall behind. They can't get any momentum going there. The thing that there's things that are real and things that aren't real. The one thing that is definitely real, I think, is that the 49ers struggled in this game to stop the run. And that's, that to me is the most alarming part of this. I mean, Ty Chandler should not be going for over 8 yards a carry against your defense. I mean, it's just, that shouldn't happen. So, and that's concerning because they struggled last year in the preseason with the run, defending the run. They struggled in the playoffs defending the run. And I thought, after the job they did on Breece Hall, that they were going to be maybe a really good run defense. But then, Aaron Jones goes down and Ty Chandler comes in. He had 10 carries for 82 yards. I mean, their run defense really looked bad. And then also Darnold, Darnold burned them with his legs. I mean, he had 5 carries for 32 yards. He had an 18-yard run in this game.
He's pretty sneaky athletic. I remember those years when he was on the Panthers and he was just running the hell out of the ball. But
yeah. I mean, he's always had talent. And he's really, looks like he benefited greatly from being in San Francisco. Gizmo Maltese says, did we underestimate or undervalue Eric Armstead? I don't think so. I think the Niners made the right decision on Armstead, just simply because everybody likes Armstead. And it's not like, hey, as you get older in football, it's can you answer the bell? It's like, we know Eric Armstead can still do it. It's just, can he do it 17 times over the course of a season? And the Niners were sitting there going, we've paid this guy to play 17, but he's got chronic problems that we think he's going to have a difficult time playing all 17. And so they made a decision to go with more guys and depth and cheaper guys. But yeah, they lose a really good player in Eric Armstead, and a guy who at his best maybe is better than Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott, but how often is he at his best? And I mean, that was part of the whole equation was, how many games are you going to get out of Armstead? What are you going to pay him? And then how many games are you going to get out of the combo of Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins, and of course Leonard Floyd, and what are you paying them? So these are all.
I think a lot of this game. We're gonna learn a lot about this game if you watch the all 22, because we couldn't see the coverage on some of these plays. So it's like, they got the secondary may have gotten burned a lot for some of those passes that Darnold was just lighting them up on third down, and then just the Niners, Brock Purdy holding the ball in the pocket. Like, is it a coverage sack? Is he not seeing someone? Like, I guess we don't really know right now, like, what was the root cause of that. So I am interested to rewatch this one and see like what really happened here.
Do you guys have more confidence in the Niners defensively up front or the Niners defensively on the back end?
Well, I think they play such a key role hand in hand. I mean, if a guy's got all day to throw, who cares how good your coverage is? Nobody can cover a guy for 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds. So I would like to see a little bit more blitzing. I think the defensive line was getting some pressure, but they rushed 4 all day. I didn't see any blitzes today. Did you guys?
They blitzed 3 times. They blitzed 3 times.
The Niners blitzed 3 times.
One of the blitzes was on the 97-yard touchdown.
Yeah, Minnesota brought 5 a bunch. As far as how many times, it was a lot. I would say at least
Vikings
blitzed 3/4.
15 times, I think, on passing
15
downs.
times.
On passing.
15 times. Okay,
Wow.
On passing downs. But how many
I only know on
shows?
passing downs. I know that the Niners blitzed on passing downs 3 times, and the Vikings 15.
I thought it was a poor game plan basically on defense. Sam Darnold is a guy, if you put pressure on him, he makes a lot of mistakes. He doesn't, he's not a guy that just sits back there and checks down, or he tries to make the big play, or we saw it with his interception today.
He fumbled twice in the interception, right?
Yeah, the one he threw to Warner was going to be picked off if Warner didn't extend and jump and get it. It was going to be right to the free safety. I was like, what's he doing? But you got to put pressure on Darnold. And I thought, you got to know. I thought they would have known that, having Darnold in camp for, basically on the team for a full year, and his history of interceptions. The guy's a turnover machine, right? Doesn't he have more interceptions than touchdown passes or something close to it? Why not put pressure on the guy?
I'll tell you what it's one thing to give up 4 catches for 133 to Justin Jefferson, but I thought the Niner pass coverage was not very good. Jalen Naylor, Trent Sherfield, Brandon Powell, Johnny Munt. These guys combined for like 10 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. So to me, the Niner pass receiver, if you said to me, give me something in this game that kind of surprised you about the 49ers, I would say the biggest thing was that with no Jordan Addison, I thought, okay, they got Justin Jefferson, he's going off. But then once Jefferson went out, I'm like, okay, the Niners, they're going to roll in the second half of this game. But no, Jalen Naylor caught 3 balls for 54 yards. Trent Sherfield had a 17-yard catch. Brandon Powell caught a couple balls. Johnny Munt caught a couple balls. It was like they had other guys step up, and the 49ers defensively couldn't even stop their second-tier guys. So that was disappointing. When you can't stop Jalen Naylor and Trent Sherfield and Brandon Powell, it's going to be a long day.
Extremely disappointing, extremely frustrating too, because it's just like it was just set up for it. Everything was set up for you to win this game in a sense, and just to get to just to fumble it like that, and just fumble it as bad as they fumbled it. It's like you can't feel good about that one.
Perfect Blackness Senior says, okay, that first drive, 3 and out, and unwillingness to lean into JP Mason was telling. I've been coaching for 17 years. In this game, it seemed that a game plan was being forced. It's no anti-Shanahan. It's not anti-Shanahan to say this. Okay, what do you think of his comments on their merit? He's saying that, on the first drive they went 3 and out. Okay. Unwillingness to lean into JP Mason. I just think, really what it comes down to as a play caller, and you don't really understand this if you don't go through the exercise of calling the plays. But let's go back to since you brought it up, let's go back to the very first beginning of the game. 49ers get the ball. It's 1st and 10 play on their own 30-yard line. Purdy throws to Juice. Okay. He gets 5 yards. So now they're at 2nd and 5. Purdy goes to Aiyuk and he gets stuffed. He might have gotten a yard or two. So he gets the ball in the hands of Aiyuk, their money guy. Now it's 3rd down, 3rd and 3. I would say it's 50-50 run or pass. And instead, he threw a pass and didn't run, and it was incomplete. And the Niners come out 3 passes, and now they're punting. I understand why people would be critical because they had success running it last time. But a lot of times if you don't run the ball on 1st down, you're probably going to wind up passing in that first series. And then if you get the 1st down, then all of a sudden it's JP Mason time. It's amazing too, the difference in feel with Mason doing his thing. And handing him the ball. Give you an example. How many times in this game did the Niners hand Mason the ball and then get to a real short 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2 type situation? Those are great positions to be in. It's it's the opposite of pressure. It's like no pressure at all. When you get a 7-8 yards on 1st down, that's why I'd love to see them utilize Mason more, because I think Shanahan can put a lot of pressure between all the weapons they have in his play action game. If they can just, run Mason a little bit more and get that, that 2nd and short. That 2nd and short, which basically means you got a down to play with. So it didn't happen a lot in this game. And you heard George say there, they don't CMC. They can do things with CMC they can't do with Mason. But I think you can also run Mason. He's a natural runner. I would have loved to have seen him have 5 or 6 more carries in this game. If you say to me, did they use him too much or not enough? I'd say they got closer to not enough than too much. Maitland says Aiyuk in this team is washed this year. I don't know. Come on, that might be overly negative.
Not washed, but definitely rusty.
How about the fact that did they not hand the ball once to Juice today?
No,
they found him in the pass game twice.
Yeah, that was nice on the sideline, and then he had another catch, I think earlier. But those 2nd and 1s you were just talking about, Larry. Great opportunity to either give the ball to Mason or give the ball to Juice, or give it to Mason with Juice as the lead blocker. Didn't see. Instead, they ended up a couple times, I believe, 2nd and 1, having to, lost yards or whatever, and then they ended up not getting the first. It was just a really poor executed game today. I just didn't think they had that mentality of just, driving down the field and just smash mouth football today. It was lacking.
Well, it just felt like failed opportunities. Easy Tino says, Larry, everybody's paid. Who's hungry? Nobody, and it showed today. Jed and Parag, reevaluate. Let's do this. Let's go around the room one last time, and before we get out of here, we're about an hour and a half in. We're not going to go too much longer. Guys, give me the what you view as the biggest positive that you saw today and your biggest area of concern going into week 3. Rye, we'll start with you.
I would say, biggest area of concern.
Biggest positive and biggest area of concern.
Okay, I'll say biggest area of concern was just that the offense looks a little bit closer to the Jimmy G offense, and it just looks like it looks a lot like CMC was a big part of everything that Kyle drew up in the offseason, and Kyle just really didn't plan for CMC to be gone. And then obviously with Aiyuk looking a little rusty. And then as far as positives go, honestly, I'm going to look outside of the game. I'm going to say that nobody got hurt And then 2, that no team is really like emerged in the NFC is like, holy, it's not like the Lions came out and just won both their games and shellacked both their opponents, and, the Packers with Jordan Love. It's like, I still think the Niners are clearly the best team in the NFC. So,
Danny, what do you think? Biggest positive, biggest concern after week 2?
Biggest positive, I agree with Rye. No significant injuries on turf is huge. When you go, I mean, you're gonna lose. You probably can bake in 3 to 4 losses minimum for the team. So they just lost one that they probably shouldn't have lost on the schedule, but that happens. So I think the fact that they didn't have any significant injuries is key. I think the biggest concern would be the defense, and I don't know. There was just a bad game. I think in some ways you just you go back, you look at the film and just say, we didn't have it today. And you start a new week and you forget about it. Come Tuesday when they're back out there again you just refocus and you move on to the next week. It's going to happen. It's the NFL. I don't worry about a loss or even not playing that great, because that's going to happen. You're not going to be up for 17 games in the year. And I think the fact that they lost to a lesser team is a good wake-up call.
Well, we got a 68-yard field goal attempt, guys.
Which game?
Harrison Butker?
Yep.
I gotta watch
Jesus Christ.
That's just sorry, Dan. That's just crazy.
That's insane.
I hope he makes it, because I got
I
Kansas
feel like
City.
they're gonna call a timeout. Oh yeah, they are.
I gotta turn this back on.
I'm gonna say, okay, go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
You can go. It's okay.
I'll go before you. The biggest negative to me, or the biggest positive, I thought was Fred Warner is just looking amazing. I mean, he just is playing at a really, really great level. He's just the great coverage player that he is at the apex of his potentially Hall of Fame career. He just looks amazing. And he's so good in coverage, but then he's also really good against the run. He's now punching the ball out, and he seems like he's got great timing on that. Great, great angles on that. He punches that thing out regularly. All right, here we go. 68-yard field goal.
They're not doing.
Oh, they're not going with it.
They punted.
Sorry.
They're going with the punt instead. So that was the big positive.
Blue ball.
I would say Fred was the big positive. The big negative to me is, there's a bunch of them, but Distortion Productions, I'll go to him here. He says our offense needs more of a deep speed threat to get the linebackers and safeties to back off the line and shorter routes. The lack of it seems to be starting to hurt us. I just think that they do need a dynamic. They need more one. Maybe it's Jacob Cowing. Maybe it's somebody they can sign off the street. They just need a little bit more dynamic, big playability from some weapon, whether it be a return guy, a running back, a wide receiver. They got to have somebody. Maybe it's Cowing. They got to have some more speed on offense, because like in this game, when they needed those 2 scores, Brock led them down from, they were done, right? It was 23-14, and the Niners were getting the ball back. Oh no, yeah, no, that was the end. It was after they had scored. It was 20-7. Warner pops the ball out. Yadam falls at it. So the Niners get it at the 1. But at that point, they got it at the 1-yard line, but they're still down 2 touchdowns. Really, they got to get to 21 to win. And instead of having a quick score, they had to go on a 12-play drive
over 5 minutes.
And it was 99 yards, and that's awesome when you have a lead and you're mixing in all kinds of runs. But when you're passing and you're trying to get back in the game, it'd be nice to see if they had somebody, where's their Tutu Atwell? Where's their dynamic guy? Where's their Tyreek Hill? Hopefully Cowan can be it, but I agree with the with distortion here. I think they lack big playability. And so if they get down by multiple scores, they have to still go to their 5 yards here, 5 yards there, all these different plays you got to make to make it happen, as opposed to quick strike ability. They don't have quick strike ability. The Lions do with Jamison Williams. The Packers do with Christian Watson. The Dolphins do with Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs now do with Xavier Worthy. And it's like the Niners don't really have that quick strike ability. I think that's an element that it burns them. That they don't look like they look like a team that Shanahan looks really impatient when he falls behind and he wants to score right away, but they don't have an offense that's made to score right away. So it's like Shanahan taking chances that they probably shouldn't take, trying desperately to, force the thing down the field when they've got, they don't have down the field type weapons. So it's like, if you're that impatient that if you fall behind by anything more than a touchdown, it's just run, be damned, and we're going to throw it down the field, then go get some speed, man. Find some speed. Maybe Danny Gray wasn't the right guy. We got this guy saying Danny Gray was drafted in the 3rd round for that speed. Yeah, I get it. They went with Danny Gray. Now they went with Cowing. They got to find some speed, especially with no McCaffrey, because Mason's a bull. But if you had, a runner that could really run, you could get Dante Miller off the practice squad or somebody like that. They need a little bit more speed. So that's that. And if they fall behind, it really kind of shows itself, because it's like, oh my God, it's going to take forever to score. Mark Engberg says, here's $4.99. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate you guys. Final thought on your, before we head for the door. A lot of good. I'll just add
to that right there, because I never got to go around.
Oh yeah, do yours, Kev. Do yours.
Yeah. No. I agree with what everyone said here. I agree with what all you guys said here. I think Warner had probably one of the most impactful games I've ever seen from a defensive player. And I think that's just going to get swept under the rug because they lost. I don't think that this game would have been even remotely close without him. He just played incredible today. The other positive I'll give out to is Jordan Mason. I mean, obviously everyone's already high on Jordan Mason, so everyone already knows this, but running, for 5 yards a carry, looking good in pass coverage and like blocking in the backfield for Purdy. He looked good there. And, he had a few receptions, and he just looks like a good back, and he can get yardage. And I just love what I'm seeing from Jordan Mason. The negative, you could go a lot of different directions. I just think it's extremely disappointing when you have a team led by Sam Darnold, who is kind of a joke of the NFL. But I mean, right now he's obviously as high as he's ever been in his career, just having no weapons and completing pass after pass after pass after pass. That's extremely disappointing, as well as Brock Purdy getting sacked 6 times, 4 times on blitzes. You just can't have that. I mean, sacks are drive killers, and you just got your drive killed 6 times. So that's another, a layer to a reason why they lost this game. So those are my positives and negatives.
Good stuff today, guys. Rye, when are you appearing next? Rye's a great follow on Twitter at West Coast Smitty. Rye, you're looking lean and mean, man. You've been working out?
Dude, I have been working out. Yeah, a lot. You know what? Staying off the booze really turns out a lot of pounds come off.
It's amazing how that works.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. But you know what? Next week.
What's my excuse? I don't drink.
I'm not sure I'll be able to make it next week because actually Jess's boss, my girlfriend Jess, gifted us with some sweet Rams-Niners tickets. So
nice.
You're going.
Yeah.
Maybe can we get those famous Rye walk through the parking lot? Let's see if we can find the car. Those are some of the best. Some of the best stuff is Rye in the parking lot.
I got you guys.
Yes. Well, we'll try that next week. Yeah, boots on the ground. Rye taking on Rams fans. Maybe there's that guy Vermilia Familia or whatever. Maybe that guy's there, and we can have our.
I would love to
meet
ground. Up with Vermilia. Yeah.
It would be an awesome day, I'm sure. Oh, we also have this one from Gregory Callow. There you go. A little clap for Gregory. Brand new, became a YouTube member. Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate you. Wait a second. This one also just jumping in here. I drafted and stashed Correndo since Kyle is probably going to run Mason into IR. We all know it. I would say you might want, if you're going to stash somebody, maybe Patrick Taylor might be the guy to stash. Maybe it's unfair, but to me, I don't want to, bark about Aiyuk because it seems like everybody's been, but I mean, he did get paid a ton, and it's like he's just so not what he was last year. It's so disappointing to see. They paid him a ton, but it's like, that's good for him, but is it good for the Niners? I don't know. They may have taken away his motivation. He doesn't look quite the same to me. This guy's like, I'd trade Brandon in a heartbeat. Yeah, well, now that you signed him, he's probably not going to be traded. All right, Danny, when are you going to appear next? When do we see you going next on NorCal Sports Network? Everybody give Danny a like and subscribe over at NorCal Sports Network. It's not just a baseball network. It's
even though the
don't
Giants
confuse
game is
it.
on right now. The Giants game is on right now.
Don't confuse it with the MLB network. It's a slightly smaller network, but it's has the same kind of sound. NorCal Sports Network. Danny, when will you be complaining about Farhan next?
Yeah, well, that'll happen tonight at 8:30 after Sunday night football is over. We'll do a Giants wrap. We'll do an NFL wrap up. And my big point too is going to be what's going to happen first. Will Jake Moody miss a field goal or any kind of kick, or will the Giants score a run? And
that's right. Shut out 3 games in a row.
And they just scored their first run today with a 6th inning home run by Donovan Walton, that guy that Farhan has playing for the future of the Giants. Donovan Walton. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. I thought the kid Grant McCrae was the answer the other day, and then I saw that the guy's got like an 87% strikeout rate. And
they're just awful.
Look, Eldridge will be up here next year. It's like, okay, but is it going to help if he's 20 and hitting 089?
For all the Giants fans out there that think Eldridge is going to save the team, just like Shohei and Mike Trout did the Angels. Come on, guys.
It wouldn't be a Kruger show if somebody doesn't jump in with a Farhan sucks. Thank you very much. And on that note, I think maybe we could even leave that up here. Thanks to Kev, we haven't even mentioned Better. We need to mention our good friends at Better. The live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Kruger show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups, and you can win real money. We won $90 on Raiders Niners in the preseason, taking a 4-player prop up for $10 and creating $90. So that was a winner. We almost won in week 1. We lost by 8 yards. If you download the app below, make sure you use the promo code Niners, NINERS. You'll get your first deposit matched up to $200. Kev, how did we do today?
We almost won today on one of our entries. We hit the George Kittle over on the receiving yards. We hit the over on the Brock Purdy rushing yards. But Aaron Jones at 12.5 rushing attempts, he only had 9. He only had 9 rushing attempts. Pretty crazy. We were 2 away from hitting 10 to win 190. We had the Brock Purdy over rushing yards. We had the Jordan Mason touchdown. We had Deebo Samuel longest catch, but we had more than 1.5 field goals for Jake Moody. He didn't hit, and we had the Jones rushing attempts again. So the Jones rushing attempts kind of burned us on those 2.
And one last super from Bill M. Aiyuk, Kittle, Deebo should all be able to get yak, but Kyle doesn't seem to scheme it in that way.
No, he never has. Come on.
They lose. Kyle's getting it. And you see what happened when I go brand right there. When I went brand right there, not only did Kyle get it, but then Rye's face gets it, and that's not good. Danny actually from the nose. Oh, look at that, Dan!
I'll just sit up a little higher.
Danny jumping above. All right. Anyway, that's going to do it for us.
You got one more super, I think, don't you?
I got another super here.
Bang bang, or did you already put that up there? Bang.
Did we go bang bang? Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Hey,
Matt Muschetta, bang bang Niner gang. Thank you, Matt.
Quick question to you guys: does cowing go in the Kyle's doghouse for fumbling the punt, or does he get more chances?
He gets more chances, but not endless chances.
No.
More chances. But anyway, and it wouldn't be a post game unless somebody questions somebody else's pay. Gerald Davis, BA sucks, way overpaid. That's going to do it for us. BC says Darnold is better than Purdy.
Keep him coming.
Silicon Valley Man says Dan and I wish we had hair like Kevin. That is not hair.
That
by
is
the way.
true. That is
Kevin,
true.
that is, first of all, that is a hat that Kevin is wearing right there. That is not hair. And that does it for us. Thanks. Peace. We're out.
Never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get